Hello walkers, we're here in Pisa, Italy. Stay with us all the way to the end. We're going to learn all about the strange legends and history behind not just the Leaning Tower, but the whole area here. And we're going to finish off by actually seeing what I think is my favourite part of the whole experience, which is the town itself and all its quirky back streets. So stay with us. I think you're really going to like this one. So my little armchair perambulators, we are in Pisa, Italy, and you can tell because of this lovely archway here. This is the new gate. Well, actually no, of course. You can tell by the big leany thing down at the end. We'll have a look at that in a moment. There's an awful lot more to this than just the Leaning Tower, the Campanile, the bell tower. Let's talk about this place. So, the Piazza del Duomo. Big grassy expanse here. It's open most days from 9 a.m. in the morning till 8 in the evening. I think Saturdays it's open later. That's good timing, isn't it? That's what every YouTuber asks for. The reminder, it's 12 o'clock. It's a Sunday. This is what you get on a Sunday here. That's a glorious 23 degrees. I know, it's hard, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to bring you these walks. We'll listen to the bells and I'll talk a bit more. So it looks like the switch for the bells has got stuck, so we're going to carry on chatting. So this whole area here is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's got two names. So it's got the Piazza del Duomo, after the cathedral, but it's also often called the Field of Miracles. And that comes after a famous novel, which I can't remember what it's called. There are 4 masterpieces here. This is the first one. The Baptistry. What not a lot of people realise is the tower over there isn't the only thing that leans. This also leans because obviously the ground in which it's built is just as soft. So this leans a little less, so about half a degree. Actually, it's 0.6 degrees. And that was built between the 12th and the 14th centuries. Nice view of that door. And it's dedicated to St. John the Baptist. So you remember the story about St. John the Baptist? John baptized Jesus. He came to a sticky ending. Poor old John. He was beheaded by King Herod. So he made the mistake of telling Herod. He told him off for divorcing his wife, and he married his sister-in-law. Well, there you go. Interestingly though, the thing about John is his followers persisted over the years, in fact right into the 2nd century. And in fact, his followers actually proclaimed him to be the Messiah. Let's take a little walk around this way. John is also known in the Islamic religion too. He's actually known as the prophet Yahya. So, this thing in front of us, which we're not going to go into, is the Camposanto. It's the cemetery. Okay, let's stick our heads in. So you can see it's cloistered. Cloistering simply means it's a covered walkway, often with an internal area. You see that a lot in universities, don't you, especially in the UK. Cloisters feature a lot, I think, in the Harry Potter films. It's very evocative of places of learning. Anyway, Camposanto is not a place of learning, so it's a cemetery. It's also known as the Holy Field. A few interesting things about it, apart from the size. So, legend says then that it was built upon soil that was brought back from Golgotha. Does that name ring a bell to you? So Golgotha is the site where Jesus apparently was crucified. So that's what legend says. It's said to hold several relics, quite important relics. There's a thorn from the crown of thorns, the crown of thorns that is, not a crown of thorns. It's got 2 fragments of the true cross, and there's a fragment of the Virgin Mary's garments. It doesn't say which garment. Could be a dress, could be a tea towel, I don't know. It's not for me to judge. Let's have a swing again, just to show you how big it is, by the way. That's the building cross there. Pretty large. There's another legend here, and so I'm going to tell you quite a few things on this walk. Most of them are going to be true. A few of them might be embellished, and there might be 1 or 2 things that are completely false. It's up to you to decide which is which. You can always put it down in the comments. But one legend says that bodies that are buried here in the ground, they dissolve, they disappear, they rot within just 24 hours. I don't know if anyone's put that to the test. So what do we have here? So this is the cathedral. Lovely coppery doors. So this is finished building in the 11th century. I know it's consecrated just over into the 12th. Let me get a look at a little bit of that detail. Some of the construction materials were nicked basically from Roman ruins. There's a lot of Roman marble in this. Isn't that always the way? I'm sure in my local Tesco's Metro there's a little bit of Stonehenge in there somewhere. We know it's the 11th century, by the way, so you can tell by building styles if it's 10th century. Oh, look at those people, by the way. few people around today, aren't there? If it's 10th century, generally they finish their buildings off with a large stone bird's nest. Tends to be a stork's nest. This one doesn't have one, so we know that it's not 10th. Again, there's a few interesting facts about the cathedral that you probably don't get to know just by wandering around. And maybe see which ones of these you think are true. Right, so back in the 10th century, all right, Pisa decided that their new year was going to be in March. Well, why not? March the 25th, to be precise. And apparently inside the cathedral, on that day, there's a little beam of light. It comes through a high round window, and it strikes a shelf on a pylon. And on that shelf now sits a marble egg. Now the egg symbolises, of course, well, what do you think? Birth, new life. That's right. And so it strikes that egg at exactly noon on the 25th. Sounds a little bit like an Indiana Jones film, doesn't it, really? That's probably where you got the idea. Showing you behind, just checking sure that no one's following me. You know what it's like when you're filming. You've got fans clamoring around. It's all very nice. Quite difficult though when you're trying to film. So anyway, naturally, in 1750, he's decided to join the rest of the world and make New Year to January the 1st. Well, they still, on the 25th, they still mark that occasion. Yes, that's the tower. I'm just going to turn around in a minute though, give you another view of the cathedral. A couple of other things. So there's a lamp just by the sort of the centre of the nave here. It's called Galileo's lamp. Why? Well, there is a legend. It says that, well, his theory, and we all know this one, don't we? The isochronism of the pendulum. Okay, basically keeping the same time. He formulated it here while he was just sitting watching the lamp sway backwards and forwards. Apparently the original lamp isn't there anymore. But you get the sentiment. Interesting, as you go inside, we're not doing that today. I'll talk about prices in a minute, so you can see what everything costs. On the north side, there's a little bit of Roman marble, and there's some black marks on it. They're called the scratches of the devil. Oh, that sounds exciting, doesn't it, really? That sounds mysterious. So supposedly, the idea is it was the devil himself didn't want the cathedral to be finished building, so he would try and clamber up inside on the dome, and hence the black marks on the marble. Final one is an amphora, so you know what that is, don't you? Sort of carries wine, Greek vessel. It's by the apse inside. It's said to have been used by Jesus. Used it at the wedding festival of Cana, and that's where he apparently turned water into wine. Now, recognize this? Yep. Let's have a little look up. So it's 56 meters high. You can get in there. You have to book a ticket if you want to walk around the top. It's got a bit of a bend to it, as we know. It's a bit of a lean. So the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or the Campanile. So currently, the bend is about 4 degrees. It used to be 5 degrees. What's the story? Well, you'd think they finished it and it started to lean, and they said, oh, that wasn't good. Well, actually, no, it started leaning just after the first 3 stories were in place. Now, there was a century that was left, I think due to wars, etc., the usual things that happen here in glorious Europe. And so it's left for a century to settle. So the foundations settle, and then began rebuilding again. But of course, over the years, it's faced lots of problems. So, Giovanni di Simone compensated when they started rebuilding. They decided maybe what we can do is the new stories, we can make them longer on one side, so we can sort of compensate for the tilt. That helped to a certain extent, but of course every story that you add also adds a huge amount of weight, and so of course the tower continued to sink. Oh, actually, before we do anything, I will come back to the tower, but as we're here, all these people standing around having their photos taken. It's been very interesting today watching people have their photos taken. I don't know if you can notice, everyone is pretending to hold up the tower in some way, or have their hand on top. It's quite sweet, really, how we just all seem to do the same thing. We all like to think we're individuals. Oh, let's have a look from this side. We can see the coat of arms. Fontana dei Putti, the Fountain of Angels. Tell you what, there's a fantastic story about this you will not believe. Absolutely incredible. You won't believe your ears. I don't know what it is. I'm sure there is one. In fact, the only thing I do know, actually, of course, for all its glory and magnificence, this was actually erected just effectively as a drinking fountain for local people. You know, we take it all for granted now. We've got running water to our homes, we've got Wi-Fi, we've Deliveroo, but no, they didn't have running water, and everyone had to come out into the street. Can you imagine the hardship? Actually having to come out and talk to your neighbours, and actually, I don't know, actually get water from outside and walk a few steps back into the house. Amazing. Not a horsey. I'm glad he's standing in the shade. There's this little poop funnel at the back there. Anyway, enough of that. You want to hear about the tower, don't you? Oh, hang on. Another view. So one thing also about the tower, because of course they're changing the sort of size of each story, trying to compensate for the lean. If you look at it from the side, it does have a little bit of a bend to it, a little bit like a European banana, you know, not completely straight, but an allowable little bend to it. So the foundations over the years have been strengthened. A number of different ways. They've injected cement right into the bottom. Oh, that sounds a bit painful, doesn't it, really? A little bit like Botox for buildings. They've used various types of bracing, etc. Still continue to subside, which is a little bit frustrating, I guess, if you put all that effort in. Anyway, 1990, they dug out a huge amount of earth from underneath, tried to shore up the foundations, reopened again in 2001. It kept moving for a while, but it settled. And in fact, it seems to be stable now. So they reckon probably for the next 200 years, it'll probably be stable. That's what we're hoping. This is nice down here. Nice to get out of the heat. Oh, did I say it's a bit warm today? Yes, I know. But thank you for asking. I do have my sun cream on. So there are at least, well, I know of 7 bells in the tower. So of course that's what it's really there for. Okay, it's there to ring the bells. It's a bell tower. And in fact, I think far more interesting than the fact that it's a leaning tower is the fact that actually, if you look at the whole site, you've got the cathedral, and then probably in the UK we used to be having a baptism that takes place around a font, takes place inside the church. Of course there, Baptistry is a separate building. And so too is the bell tower. So that's, I think, probably the most unusual thing. The fact that they've taken a church and split it into its component bits and dotted it around. So the bells, the heaviest one is 3,600 kilos. What's that, 3.5 tons? Pretty big. Hang on, let me turn around because this is also quite a nice view. See, I'm walking backwards. You can see the tower in the distance. So anyway, the bells. Thing is, when you've got a leaning tower on soft sand weighing, I don't know, thousands and thousands of tons, and then you've got a big bell at the top that's going to swing backwards and forwards every time you ring it, weighing nearly 4 tons, is that a good idea? Answers in the comments below. Well, I can tell you, it's probably not a good idea. Okay, and in fact, so here we go. That's not the big bells, okay? So the biggest ones then basically don't ring, because of course it's just going to add to the instability of the tower. And we don't want that, do we? No. Here's the thought though, of course. It's a very pretty tower. It's quite nice, but there's lots of other towers, lots of other bell towers around, especially in this beautiful country that is Italy. I think it just goes to remind us then, you know what? If you want your tower or building to be hugely important and well known, to be successful, to be an icon, to generate vast swathes of cash, then what you need to do, of course, is don't just build a normal tower. You've got to have some sort of defect in it, something a bit unusual, right? Maybe it's got an extra leg on it, okay? Or maybe it's curved, or maybe the taps in the toilets never turn off and they keep running. I don't know. You guys think of something, right? You know, I'm not going to do all the work for you, but if you're going to build a building, make it unusual. So I haven't mentioned prices. So, 27 euros. 27 euros will get you access to everything. And I mean everything, if you know what I mean. Yes, no, everything. That also includes, I think, going up the tower. That's each, by the way. 20 euros will get you access to the cathedral and the tower. 10 euros will get you access to all the buildings apart from the tower. And in general, 7 euros, getting any combination of, well, you're going to have the cathedral and then any of the other buildings. Obviously not the tower, by the way. I think you've spotted that. So look at this corner. Oh, just nearly got run over. It's always quite fun, getting run over. Yeah, so basically, generally, if you buy a ticket for anything, you're going to get free entry into the cathedral. You might want to know, by the way, So, cathedral is still an active place of worship. It's not a museum piece, and so you have to be respectful. People do get turned away, so generally no shorts, no short skirts, no tricorn hats. Make sure your sleeves are covered, and be respectful. Ladies, if you want to put a little scarf or shawl around your neck. Patisseria here. Somehow, being in Italy, all looks extra nice, doesn't it? Well, while we're talking about patisseries and cafe, shall we have a little chat about coffee? So you often hear people warning you, if you go into Italy, all right, you can't ask for a cappuccino after noon, can't have a milky drink. Well, generally, yeah, so the Italians would never pretty much have a milky drink after about 11. In fact, they think of a milky drink really as a meal in itself. So why would you have it after a meal? It's a little bit strange. It's like having I'll have bacon and eggs, and then I'll have some more bacon and eggs. So anyway, cappuccino, milky drink, normally fine up to 11. In fact, to be honest, any tourist place, you can just wander around and you can have it whatever time you like, to be honest. They're going to look at you, they know you're a tourist. They're not going to roll their eyes. In fact, whatever you want on there, if you want a little foam fairy castle made, if you want a little foam hamster riding a tricycle with an ice cream cornet sticking out the top, yeah, I'm sure they'll do their best. If you used to, by the way, here's the thing. So if you're used to asking for a latte, if it's a touristy place, they'll probably understand what you mean. But what you really want to ask for is a cafe latte. Cafe latte. Because latte is milk. So they'll just give you hot milk, which I'm guessing that's probably not what you're after. And you might find that the drinks are a little smaller than you used to. I mean, actually this morning, they did give us an option of large or small cappuccino. But generally, it's just going to be one size. And so what do people drink for the rest of the day? Well, they drink espresso. Italians can often have 3, 4, 5, 6 a day. They'll often just walk into a bar, they'll stand up, they'll swig it down, and they'll be off. Use a bit like a pep up. And yes, it's true, so if you want to drink at the bar, standing at the bar, it's going to be cheaper than if you sit down. It doesn't matter where you sit, you're taking up a space, you're going to be sitting there a while. It's going to be more expensive inside or out. Coming to an important little square. This is Knights Square, or Piazza dei Cavalieri. I think that's pretty good. That's a good attempt, don't laugh. Now, this square is probably one of the most important masterpieces, really, of the Renaissance era, I should say.
If you would have you tried?
This statue here, Cosimo I Medici, he was the first Grand Duke of Tuscany. And what's he standing on? Well, doesn't look entirely like one, but it's the head of a dolphin. Okay, so what's going on here? Did he have a beef with sea mammals? Perhaps he was You know, assaulted by a porpoise when he was very small. No. No, indeed not. No, he's got nothing against dolphins, porpoises, whales, anything like that. Let's have a look over this side. No, it's a symbol. Symbology. Isn't symbology a lovely thing? It's a symbol, you see, really. It's a symbol of all his naval victories. Now, let's follow the herd. Coming down here. It's a pretty nice day, I'd say. Quite happy to be here. So it's been a long time since we've been in Italy. So very nice to be back. See? Piazza dei Cavalieri. I don't lie. Lovely little square. Just want to show you that road down there. It's got some lovely buildings, but we're going to take a slightly different route. Let's come this way. So the Field of Miracles, where we started, so that's what the tower is. Merely one of 4 masterpieces, may I remind you, by the way. That's not all there is here. How do you get there? Well, the train station. Train station is about a 20-minute walk. It's actually just over the other side of the river. It's very easy. There's a couple of straight roads all the way up. You can follow all the tourists. Very straightforward. There's a lovely cool breeze down here, which is most welcome. So as I say, Pisa has more to it than just the Leaning Tower. And if you're here just on a day trip, probably what's going to happen is you'll be dropped off by a coach. They'll give you 2 hours to take some snaps around there, have a bit of a reheated pizza, and then pick you up again. But if you can, step away from the tourist bit. You don't even have to go, a few hundred yards. Suddenly prices drop. Cafes are more authentic, food's better, it's basically just rewarding you really for just having a little meander. And look at these streets, aren't these fantastic? And tight faces. So this is a Sunday, as I said, so things are a little quiet today, would you believe? but nice atmosphere. And although the square back there was full, it wasn't too bad. It's a good time of year to come. This is May. I'm just going to take us down here a second, because this is also... See, this is just a step off the street. Most people don't bother to step off the street, but if you do, don't know what you find. And this down here is quite pleasant. Now, wasn't that worth it? Just tucked away, lovely square, little cafes, bit of greenery, bit of shade. A lot of students come here because it's a university town, university buildings around. But what a lovely spot. Hear the birds singing? Yep, we haven't added them on. They are genuine. They're actually on the soundtrack. Let's continue our route. So we were in Rome yesterday, which is a little bit of a whistle-stop tour this time. Not the way we normally like to do things. Needs must. We're a little bit busy at home. Exciting things happening. So we just have to get away when we can. I think it's important too, that's what we've learned, is that if you do only have a day or two somewhere, don't try and pack too much in. There will be that feeling, that pressure to do everything. But if you can, see if you can avoid that. We're heading down this way. So actually, if you can just pick one or two things to do each day, and you can relax around the rest of it, and that surely is part of what it's like to sort of be in another country, is to just sit and soak up the language, the atmosphere, all the little idiosyncrasies. The most interesting differences sometimes in a new culture is not because it's got the Leaning Tower of Pisa or it's got the Colosseum. No. It's the everyday life. How do people live their lives? Because sometimes it's so completely different. Like when you come to Europe, you realise just how much more relaxed people are around their families and children, for instance. So in the UK, I'd say, and in America, I think perhaps we've gone a little bit protective. It's always good to be a little bit protective of children, but sometimes seems to be at times a little manically so, restricting kids' abilities to play, run around a bit, take a few risks. Here, it's all completely normal. I love these yellows as well on the buildings. And you look around, you've got those like supports drilled into the walls just to hold the, well, stop the walls bowing, isn't it? We get those in the UK sometimes too, when you get a little bit of movement. I'm glad this is a bit more busy. So I was through here earlier. dead quiet. Nothing was happening. I was thinking, oh dear, I had plans for this, but I'm glad to see it's come alive. Oh yeah. So in the week, I think on a Saturday, this is a little market here, vegetable, fruit market. You know the sort. Oh, there's a lovely little bit of graffiti up there. Yes, anyway, enough about that. But now, Sunday, everyone's out having lunch. What a civilised idea. Having lunch outside. Pretty nice. So Yvonne and I decided not to bring our children with us on this trip. Very good reason, really. We don't have any, and we didn't fancy creating any in the short time that we had. Maybe in the future we might. We might drop a couple, package them up, stick them in the backpack. And of course, you know, if they get a bit noisy, well, we can just put them back. Now, these are like cloisters, aren't they? Just like in this cemetery. So over on the left here, it's this church. I'm just going to show you. Now, you're probably not interested in churches, and that's fine. I'm not exactly a collector of churches. Let's have a little look at it. This is San Michele in Borgo. I think it's kind of interesting because I like the past. I like reading about the past. One thing, when this was built outside the city, so you get a sense actually how Pisa has grown. And the interesting thing for me is actually built over an ancient temple. So it's dedicated to Mars, so that's the Roman god of war. Kind of interesting, really. But it's now a temple to peace. So this, I think, is Piazza Garibaldi. Oh, look at that. What a memory. Piazza Garibaldi. It's almost as if I looked at that earlier and memorised it. Oh, look at that. It's like Madonna and Child, just over there in wood. See? Gotta look around, gotta look up. Quite a nice square, isn't it? We're coming over here to the bridge. I think this is the Ponte di Mezzo? I think so. No, going straight for me. Oh well, never can tell. So there's been a bridge here since 1035. First one was wood. All the bridges here tend to have had a few issues, like being bombed or collapsing. It was bombed in World War II, got rebuilt. But the locals know this bridge quite well because this is the site of the Battle of the Bridge, or the Gioco del Ponte. So, what happens there? So there's a battle. They bring a heavy float, you imagine, right into the middle here. And you've got two teams, one from the north, one from the south. All try and push it over to each other's side of the bridge. It's been going on since the 17th century and it still happens. Right, so this tells you if you're a geek or not. Do you know what that was? I do, and I didn't even know it was on today. So it's May the 4th. Star Wars Day. As in, May the 4th be with you. Ha 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 ha. Absolutely. Well, that's what it is. Hence the characters there. I recognise Ashoka. I don't know about the other one. Although I must be honest, Star Wars for me fell out of favour. I just want to show you that for no reason other than it's pretty. And as we're going down what is a shopping street, we might not get as many nice views. Yeah, so I'm very much the old school. First three films were good. The rest, well, sort of almost like to think they didn't happen. Mandalorian though, fantastic, really good. And Andor, wow, that's a surprise. Actually gave me a few centilitres of faith that actually it might start going in a good direction. Anyway, enough of Star Wars. So this is the main shopping street. Not a huge amount is open on a Sunday, but a lot more than when we were here before. I think we're down here about 10:30 and nothing was open. I mean, going down here, one, to show you how to get to the station, but two, just showing you all different parts of the town of Pisa. Yeah, by the way, it's not pizza. Please don't say pizza. In fact, if someone near you saying I'm just going to the Tower of Pizza, just give them your best Paddington stare. That'll soon sort them out. Won't do that again in a hurry. Pisa. Oh yes, and also this is quite a nice square down at the end. That's the other reason. But also, I was just curious, I wanted to see what was open. Oh, actually, there are a few shops. That's okay.
Yeah.
There's something nice about being in Italy, isn't there? I must say I've missed this. I've really enjoyed, of course, Spain and Portugal and our beloved Madeira. This is lovely too. Good old Europe. So you can just about make out a square down at the bottom there. That's where we're going. It's behind that. Just one street behind that. That's where you're going to find the, what's the word? I think where trains go. Oh yeah, train station. Oh yeah, Nicola Pisano. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was he not the founder of modern sculpture? I'm sure you know. I should know these things. He didn't invent sculpture, obviously people have been bashing lumps out of rocks for a long time. Modern sculpture. The style. Mango here. It's interesting to see a shop selling just one sort of fruits, but I guess it's very popular. So I know some of you like to ask, what am I wearing today? So I'm doing a double duty today. A friend asked me just to help promote their coffee shop here, so I've actually got a sandwich board. So if you hear a little clunk now and again, it's just my knees knocking against the wood at the front and my heels at the back. If you happen to be in this area, you spot the sandwich board, do take a picture. Take a picture, you're going to get €1 off what's rather nice coffee. To be honest, it's a bit warm today and I'll be glad to get this thing off. Not being paid for it either, which is a bit silly. Should have charged, but you know, friends are friends. We're on our lonesome today as well, by the way. We haven't got our imaginary team, our YouTube team. No, Octavia's not around. Guido isn't. Captain Thunderbolt, or Captain Osmo, I should say. Oh, he's going to really get in. He's going to really have a go at me now, isn't he? Captain Osmo and the Thunderbolts. Yes. Sorry, guys. Yeah, they're not with us today. Again, this was a bit of a short trip, so we didn't have time to plan very much. Still, the team are busy away, back in Blighty, planning new adventures for us. So this is Pittore Emanuele Square, I do believe. And it's quite pretty. So at the back, just to the left, you can see the station, so it's not far, is it? It's rather nice here, isn't it? I'm going to try and get a shot, a nicely lined up shot, of the statue and the cafes behind it, because I think it's pretty. Yeah, that'll do. That's looking nice. So, Vittorio Emanuele II. Notice the statue, by the way. Little plume on his head. Oh yes. Well, there we are. Just basically there to make him look taller. Why not? Why not make yourself look taller? Anyway, that's where we're finishing. Leave you with a sweep of the square. And leave you with a longing for our next narrated walk, which won't be too long. Don't forget to subscribe if you care to. It's really up to you. No one's going to come around the house and staple your forehead to the ceiling. At least that's what Yvonne promises. Anyway, not after the last time. But for now, we're off. See you soon. Take care.